Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of Dice Trays Action. Before we get started tonight, I just want to give a quick shout out to Lost Haven Art for the amazing work he did on our logo and for the assets that would become the overlay we're using. If you want to check out more of their stuff, you can find them on Twitter at Lost Haven Art. Now, last we left our group, they had spent some time back at the Quiet Night where they learned a little bit more about the Baron who has been mentioned previously and his missing son. Whether or not you consider that unfortunate seems like is a person to person basis. Kunskap Silker spent some time checking out one of these special rooms where they realized that with the help of Rory, is not necessarily as special as he would want people to think it is. After some time, the party then ventured towards the wall where they found a severe drop in the quality of living conditions compared to the parts of Southreach they've seen thus far. And after some exploration and some guidance from a familiar face, they found themselves in the back of a what seemed to be a warehouse, which opened up into quite the fancy club where Toby finally got his blood ale. Gearna has floated the prospect of having a duel, and the group met the Hand, who, after a bit of discussion, offered them an opportunity to garner some information they had been looking for in exchange for a job, though he was light on the details, to say the least. The party, spending some time discussing whether or not to do this, was left to themselves, with the exception of the watchful eye of the Hands. Lavion companion Evral. Eventually, the party determined that they did not want to be involved in whatever it was that the Hand was offering in exchange for his information. And as Kunskap Soccer arose to go let them know that there was no interest on behalf of the party, they found themselves stared down by the sharp, vicious glare of the Lavion. And that is where we rejoin our party.
Just for context, how tall is this Labion?
About 7 feet, 5 inches, 7 foot 5, 7 foot 6. How tall is Toby?
Out like between 7 and 7'2". So he's a little bit taller than I am.
Mm-hmm. Just a touch.
That must be a strange feeling for Toby. Kunskap looks up at the Lavion in front of him and in front of them and says, "Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. I was just off to discuss with your boss the decision we came to."
He points back towards Kunskap's seat and he goes, "Sit."
Kunskap looks at the others, looks up at the Lavion, and does as told.
The Lavion looks back towards the kind waitress who had brought you your drinks earlier and motions to her, and she sort of goes off towards the Hand as Everall stands there, just sort of watching the group of you. His eyes always seem to slowly drift back to Brory.
Since I'm sitting next to Rory, I'm gonna like put my hand over on his shoulder, just like try to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't seem to like you.
I've noticed. What kind of Lavion is he?
He seems like a gold name.
Really?
As they wait,
Lavion
Kunskap is
more hostile,
Oh,
or is that simply this gentleman?
Seems to be him.
Kunskap is looking anxious and high energy and starts tapping the table and then just kind of looks around anxiously.
after a few moments, you are joined by the familiar tapping of the cane, and then after another moment, the hand settles back into the seat he was at before. And he looks at the group of you. I was told you've come to a decision.
Yes, we have decided that we will acquiesce your request for this job. I am sorry to say we wish to stay as much above the law as possible while here.
Hmm. Well, I would be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed. Above the law, you say?
Fortunately, some of our goals here in the city cannot be reached if we were caught or put behind bars or otherwise made to leave the city.
Mm. How unfortunate. I had hoped you would have more faith in your own abilities than that. But if that is the case, I suppose better to know your own limits than not.
This dueling arena, is there any opponents available tonight?
Why?
I am curious, and this has been a while since I dueled anyone.
Hmm. Perhaps I can scrounge up someone for you. Usually, quite a bit of money changes hands through these things. Perhaps we could make a wager.
All right, what did you have in mind?
Well, since the group of you seem to be of such high moral fiber, perhaps if you win, I will give you the information that you are looking for. Free of charge. If I win, then you join me in my office, collectively, of course. And I will give you a bit more information, and then I will give you a number. And if the information puts to rest your concerns, and the number helps belay some of your fears, then you will do a job for me. And at the end of it, I will still give you your information. And if you don't like the job, well, you're free to walk away. Never to return, of course. But I don't think I'll have to worry about your interference.
This seems like a fine deal to me.
Do the rest of you find this acceptable?
I have utmost faith in Gearna.
I believe in Gearna's confidence as a protector. I would be worried about the blood stains, but I don't know if ghosts bleed.
What?
You got this.
Is that some sort of saying where you're from? I can't say I've heard it before.
No.
All right, then. Give me a few moments to prepare, and then we will introduce you. Do you have a second?
Do any of you wish to take on this role?
It's nothing dangerous, of course. You will just be announcing her and standing aside in case she is unable to continue and incapable of saying as much. That's all.
I will take this role.
Kapsoka.
All right. Give me a few moments, and you will be approached and told when to begin. When to make your way to the ring, as it were. He sort of waves his hand haphazardly. And then he motions to Evral, who kneels down beside him, and he whispers something to him, and Evral takes off. Off he goes. Be gone. In the meantime,
Oh, I hope I do not suck at this.
as do I. In the meantime, he says, looking over at Brory, you. I don't see too many of your kind here in Southring. Most prefer the freelands for, well, I suppose obvious reasons now. So why are you here? Truly, we're all friends here.
My reasons remain. I'll leave it at that.
Ah, you learn quickly. There's something prescient about such an answer. They do love their dance, don't they?
Gearna is gonna stretch, like rotate her little.
This should go like all the way around.
Toby is fascinated by this.
So, about a minute after this, you hear the chatter in the area start to sort of pick up, and you can hear the coins being tossed across tables as betting commences. You also see a number of people emerging from a back area.
Where is the betting going on?
Just at different tables, people are betting.
Rory's gonna go up to the nearest one.
Ooh, sure. You can move yourself to whichever table you would like. It's not like there's a Lavio in here to stop you.
What are the odds for Gearna winning?
Ooh, all the way over there. So you go over, and the group of them kind of stop for a moment and all sort of look at you. And then this older human gentleman approaches the table and he goes, "What was that?"
What are the odds on my friend?
Hmm. Not good, but I'll take a fool's bet if you want. Been putting her at 5-1.
All right. He's going to open his satchel, count out, and place a sack of 50 gold on the table.
Christ almighty.
Everyone just sort of like stops and looks at you. It's a hefty bet. You understand you don't get it back if you lose.
And I assume the same applies to you, my friend.
A win's a win. House always pays out.
He's going to pull the chair that he was standing on top of and drag it to the side of the arena and sit down. And just wave at the broker.
Damn, Rory with them big bets.
Don't lose.
That was my intention, yes.
Hopefully you can stick to it.
She's gonna cast a side look over at the hand. I assume that use of magic will not be a concern here.
That depends on what it is you'll be trying to do. This is more of a physical battle than a magical one.
My armor is somewhat magical.
Everyone picks up an enchanted trinket here or there. No, I don't think that will be an issue. Just don't go throwing any fireballs around here.
Absolutely. That would be unacceptable.
Any other rules to this game?
No, just keep it honorable. Honor is perhaps an even more valuable currency here than gold.
So
That is
as this
perhaps
is
a principle we
happening,
can agree on.
Toby's gonna pick up what's left of his ale, and he's gonna walk around to the side next to Gearna, and be like, "Toby believes in you." And then walks over and takes these two chairs and pushes them together and sits down right next to the hand by the front row.
I wave at Toby.
I like raise my mug back.
If you'd like, you should go step into the ring with your second. And then he also motions over to the dwarven waitress again, and then points at your mug, Toby, and she walks off. Well, it would be rude of me to not keep your cup full, at least through this.
Toby like side eyes him, like glances, like, not sure if I trust you, but Toby thanks you.
You are quite welcome. I always prefer to have my establishment be a welcoming
Legitimately nervous about this now.
Where did the guy who walked over, the human, go?
Which human? Oh, the
The
one who took your
guy.
bet?
Yeah.
He's here now, in the ring.
Oh, he's
Oh.
in the ring. Okay.
Oh,
Were
well,
you
son
like,
of a
oh no, you
bitch."
just dipped with your money. He's gone.
This will be easy to collect on.
This
maybe?
would have been a much different fight if he decided to walk off with that.
He's just gone. He just dipped. That's it. He's gone.
That was more than half my remaining gold.
My God, please don't lose. Please don't lose.
Aksha bounced off his chair, flapped his little wings, and walks right up to the rail next to the hand. And he's like, Gearna!
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it seems we have a new challenger tonight. Where's your second, ma'am?
Perhaps he stopped to talk to a rat.
Moonscop starts waving.
The guy motions you over. Come on down. Why don't you go ahead and introduce your champion for tonight?
As Kunskap Sokar stands next to Gearna, their arms raise up in the air and they begin to dance their fingers, cascading druid crafts. So a billowing gust of air begins to blow across Gearna's back, causing her cloak to flow as if heroic in stature. And Kunskap goes, "This is the ancient warrior Gearna, the fighter of many, the slayer of all. The rune shall always protect her." And as they're dancing their fingers around, as if to try to, what they're doing is casting druidcraft over and over again using runes, but at the same time trying to hide another cast of another spell.
Interesting. Wisdom is your spellcasting ability, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you roll me a wisdom-based stealth check? And then let me know what it is that you're casting.
So just for clarification, this is like a pit that goes down, right?
Yes, yeah.
But there's like a bar or something or fence.
There's
up?
like ropes around it to create like
Okay.
a railing.
All right, cool.
And I am casting Sanctuary upon Gearna.
Okay. What does that do?
Every time someone tries to attack her, they must roll a wisdom saving throw or not be able to attack at all.
And that is 10 minutes? 1 minute.
Damn, awesome. As long as we don't get caught.
Let's hope.
Did you hear, Kunskam?
Was that?
Is that 10 minutes or 1 minute?
It's one.
1 minute.
Okay.
Unless I can increase its spell power. Let me look.
But if they make an attack, it ends, I think. It only wards them until they do something aggressive.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, I didn't read that part. Then it's Shield of Faith.
What does that one do? Remind me.
+2 AC. And that is 10 minutes.
Yes, that's concentration, right?
All of them are concentration.
Sanctuary concentration? No, sanctuary is not concentration.
Ah.
Because it's only until they attack. So,
Mm.
yeah. But, okay, cool. So Shield of Faith is concentration. Um. So
Will I know that that's been cast on me?
I don't think so.
yes,
Okay.
I would say so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would say so. There's a. Let me check something for one moment. What are the components for Druidcraft? Is it all three, or is it just verbal and somatic?
Verbal and somatic.
Okay, cool. That's fine then. Yeah, there is a shimmer around Gearna for a moment, and there is a. So if you were going to put this like shielding rune on Gearna, where would Kunskap Soka put it?
On the back of her spine, covered by the cloak.
Great. Okay. So yeah, and you feel sort of a like protective essence sort of wrapping around you. Yeah,
Okay.
and there's a bit of a shimmer. None of you, except for obviously Gearna and Kunskap, notice it, and hopefully no one else.
So did all of us get to hear this? Like we're all within earshot, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So as this entrance finishes, I finish a deep swig of my ale and just slam it down on the table next to me, and I'm like, "Yeah, Gearna!" like yelling at the top of my lungs.
Likewise.
Whew.
Got any-
Before Kunskap goes to like move away, Gearna's gonna catch his arm really quick and lean in. Thank you, Kunskap, but this must be a fair fight. My honor is on the line.
Kunskap will look over at her and cock their head and say, fairness is when friends extend a hand of help. There's no dishonor in that.
That makes it essentially 2-on-1 instead of a 1-on-1 battle. It is against the code.
Very well. And the rune will vanish off her back.
But again, thank you.
Toby, the next time you go to like look at your mug, it has been replaced with a new one, completely full to almost to the brim.
At a certain point, I will not notice this anymore.
Kunskap will get out of the ring at this point after the introduction is complete.
And then the gentleman in the center of the ring goes, and her opponent for tonight. You know him. You hate him. He is undefeated in combat. Welcome, the beast of the Pride Lands, the warrior of ruin, Evral. And there's despite what is being said, a lot of cheering as the Lavion that had been standing by you guys earlier steps into the ring. His eyes now squarely set on Gearna. After a moment, the gentleman looks at each of you. Draw your weapons. Prepare yourselves. Don't be afraid to say you gotta go when it's time to go. Good luck. And then he departs relatively
Will it
quickly.
be a good fight?
Ever also sort of scoffs and then nods his head a little bit and proceeds to pull this sort of cracked, scarred looking sword out from behind his back. And as he sweeps it through the air, there's this strange, almost trail of itself that it leaves behind. And then he crouches a bit, holding it across his own body. And we're going to roll initiative, you and
Gearna's gonna pull the little thing and her cloak opens up, revealing her mechanical body, and she's gonna get into position.
And there's some like gasps as she does that. Aksha, you notice that the hand seems particularly surprised and intrigued by the way Gearna looks.
This is a waste of a roll.
You seem surprised by my front.
Intrigued. That's no Alma. What was your roll?
21.
Oh, that is not a waste of her roll. Alright. Alright. Gearna, you're up first.
Okay. I am going to excuse me for 1 second. I'm just gonna go in for hi, what's up? And just bring my staff around to try and clock him on the head.
Yeah, go for it.
That's 21 again.
Yeah, that's gonna hit. Be a problem if it didn't.
I'd be very concerned.
Oh
my
no.
Bink. Uh-oh.
What kind of equipment has he come out? Like armor, weapons?
It's plate mail. Plate mail and the longsword.
I rolled my max damage, so that's 13 points.
Nice. Give me
Make
one
that bank.
moment. How much was it?
13 points.
Nice. All right. And you were using which end?
The blunt end.
Yeah, and you swing it, and he doesn't even try and avoid this. His eyes stay locked on yours as it just crashes into the side of his head, sending him stumbling a bit to the side.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's all I'm gonna do for now.
Oh, good. So, Evral. Oh yeah, he doesn't even have to. That's good. So, slowly he rises back up and sort of cracks his neck with a now a deep grin baring his teeth. And then he lets out a deep, powerful roar. I'm going to need you to roll me a wisdom saving throw.
Okey-doke. $15.
Okay, cool. So it's just this loud, imposing sound, but you steel yourself against it, refusing to allow it to sort of cut into your resolve. And then he sort of crouches down on his haunches and launches himself at you. And as he does, he begins to sort of spin. It's incredibly graceful considering how heavy the armor he seems to be donning is. And he swings in his sword at you from the side. And again, as he does, there's just this sort of afterimage trail of it. And it almost seems like bits of the steel are sort of falling away as it moves. This thing looks incredibly frail and fragile. That is an 11 versus your AC.
No.
So he swings it up to you, and how would Gearna parry this?
I guess she would bring her staff up to bring it upwards, and then she kind of bend a little bit unnaturally backwards and just kind of guide it around her and then pop back up.
Okay. And so it like goes right past her, and then as she pops back up, does a 20 hit your AC?
Yeah.
What about a 16?
No.
Cool. Give me one moment. So as you rise back up, there is a moment of pressure that you feel against your side, and then you find yourself stumbling off as though slashed against. You take 15 points of slashing damage.
Holy hell.
Um, and you are sort of thrown backwards. Um, and Varol advances a bit, and as he does, again, he never really stops moving, just constantly in motion, and the sword, and seemingly himself as well now, begins to have that same sort of after image to him, where it just seems to be just a little slower than his form proper. And he is done.
Okay.
And everyone cheers as you stumble back.
I'm gonna attempt to use my fire rune. It's just a basic attack, and then if it hits, it does extra stuff. That is going to be a 18.
Oh yeah, that is.
Awesome. Okay, so that's my regular attack damage. It's 11 points of damage, and then I gotta do 2d6. 4, 3, another 7 points of damage. And now he has to succeed on a strength saving throw, or he is restrained.
What's the DC?
I think it's, if I'm remembering correctly, it's 15.
He beats it.
Okay, then yeah.
Yeah. He's got an 18.
Cool.
Do you want to describe how this looks? I assume you're also moving up to him, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
No worries.
I had my sheet up on Foundry. So yeah, she moves back up to him. She charges up, and she strikes at him multiple times with the pointy end, and then slashes up with it, and just sort of catches him a little on the like around where the joint of the armor is.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the tip, fire sort of comes out and encircles him, and then wraps around his arms, and then obviously he breaks free, but it still does damage.
Awesome. Yeah, and he sort of like thrusts his arms out, and the fire disperses as he lets out this sort of growl. Is there anything else you're doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna become big.
Hooey! Okay. Give me a moment. I got you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Whew. And there's like audible gasps as. How does that look? Describe you like growing, because this is, I think, the first time you've done it.
So there's just kind of a very loud whirring, and just little by little, it sort of jerks out, and then just becomes bigger, and it looks like a transformer almost, but just with the stuff popping out of places, so that it looks bigger.
How tall are you now?
Well, let's see. I become a size larger, so I'm now qualified as a large creature. I don't know what the minimum height for that is.
We can say you're between like 10 and 15 feet.
She's like 12 feet tall.
There you go.
Wow.
Impressive. And Evral looks at you, and then he grins that wide, toothy grin again. I assume you're finished?
Oh yeah, she's just gonna say your style is amazing.
Oh, all the better to cut you down with. And then he launches himself up at your like chest. And again, as he does, you notice that this trail seems to be getting longer. The just trail of after images behind him. That's an 11 versus your AC.
No.
And so he launches at you, and it's really easy for you to sort of like parry him away, which lands him over here. However, as you look down,
Completely forgot I have an action surge. Okay, next time.
next
If
turn,
there's a time.
and some of you notice immediately, and Gearna, perhaps after a moment or two of being focused on your target, notice movement from your side, and realize that this after image of him seems to have stayed behind where he started before he launched at you, and then from where you know he landed, he launches at you again. At the same time, this other image of him does the same, both attacking you at the same time. 17 and
On the nose.
19.
Yeah, I think I'm getting knocked out.
So 10 damage?
Yeah, I'm out.
Oh,
I only have 19 hit points.
yeah.
Well.
And then, so the first one hits you, and as it does, there's this grinding sound of metal against metal as this blade sort of drags across your chassis, for lack of a better term. And at the last moment, it shatters, and as it breaks, this version of him that's attacking you sort of shimmers and dissipates. And then as you go down, which also I believe reduces you back to normal size,
Yep.
the second one, which had leaped at you, sort of lands on your slowly shrinking body, and as you hit the ground, he just sort of is stood over you, holding the blade at your now unconscious form. Your second is doing a bad job.
And Scop will go over and
If you had action search, you would have won that.
what?
No, I was just saying if she had action search, she would have 100% won that.
Yeah, I can't. It's just my first time playing a fighter, so I completely forgot I had those options.
It happens. It's all good.
We'll cast Cure Wounds.
Pop up.
He slowly slides the blade back into
that's
its
not the
sheath
level.
at his back.
I'll cast it as second level.
And he offers out his hand.
He accepts.
And he pulls her perhaps a little stronger than he should, but he just sort of like yanks her back up to her feet.
I heal her back to full.
Nice.
Can we do this
Okay.
again?
Did she
That's
say
2 out
that?
of 3.
Yes.
Please.
Again.
That was immensely fun, and you are amazing.
Coonscop skitters back to the edge of the arena.
You have, yeah, I got it. That's great. They're just like, yeah. You have business with my master, but once that is concluded, oh yes, I will fight you again. You have a form that I have only encountered once.
You have seen this before.
Once, yes. is the only man who has ever defeated me.
If you are willing, I would deeply love to hear the story.
Another time. For now, you have business.
Yes, of course.
And as that happens, where did he go? Here he is. The gentleman who took your bet, Rory, just sort of walks by you and he pats you on the back and he goes, "Maybe next time." And then he just sort of like throws up the bag and catches it. And so, Avral sort of walks with you out of the arena, and everyone's cheering. There's a couple people who you can tell are upset because they took the long bet and did not do well, unfortunately. Whew. And
Stop.
Yes.
I have not had that much fun in a while.
You would have won if you took my blessing.
I would have been cheating.
Your definition of cheating is different than mine. I specifically asked for the rules of the said engagement, and there was nothing about me giving you anything that was against said rules.
Generally speaking, when someone says honorable combats, they assume that you are going in with your own power and your own power alone.
So I would never be able to fight because my power comes from the gods and not from myself?
Could be wrong, but I believe you are being purposefully obtuse.
Yes. And Kuhn Scott goes back to the table.
Galbraith, upon the end of the fight and Kunskap healing Gearna back, looks over at Aksha and goes in. And in Draconic, he goes, "Your friend, she is quite the interesting specimen."
I wouldn't quite say specimen, but she's indeed fantastic.
It was surprisingly closer than I expected it to be. If nothing else, it leaves me confident in your ability to, well, hers at least, her ability to do the job that I am offering. Which is good. You and I should have a conversation as well. I know you are looking for someone, yes?
You must have been watching us for quite some time. Yes, I am looking for the friend of my mentor.
Bryn, yes?
Yes.
Well,
Of course, I've been given the runaround when I went to the Amber Gate.
Of course you were. They don't want anything to do with the riffraff. Which he says in just that one word he says in common, because I don't think there is a draconic word for riffraff.
Right.
But
My intelligence far exceeds their own, but if that's what they wish to call me, then so be it.
and confident too. We'll speak. Perhaps if you do take this job, I'll be able to help you out. Now, he says in common as he turns back to the group of you, well fought.
Exhilarating. You are well protected.
Yes, I'm quite lucky in that way. Now, why don't we excuse ourselves to my office? Evral will show you the way. I'll be there momentarily, and we can discuss what is to come next.
That sounds good. That sounds very good.
Big deal. What's the deal?
So Evral will lead you around back to the front. And over this way.
Can Aksha use Arcana to see what kind of weapon it is that the Everall has?
You would have to get a closer eye on it. If you asked him to take a look at it, you might be able to.
Okay. I might do that.
And around this way. There we go. And then he leads you into this room. And he goes, "Stay here. Don't make a mess. And don't try peeking into that door." And he points to the door behind the group of you. And then he exits. Oh, actually, where'd you go?
I don't know.
I flew into the rafters. Now they're gonna
Aksha,
watch us from
no.
there.
It's just where Aksha is now.
Oh, there's
I
Aksha.
keep hitting walls.
Oh no!
Aksha, no.
Okay.
There we go.
Aksha is now here.
Good, good. And
Oh, before he go, can Aksha ask question? Oh, yes, mighty tall one. Yes. Aksha would like to ask question.
yeah.
Can I see your weapon? Can I see? Not take. No, just look.
As long as it is only with your eyes
Yes,
and
absolutely.
not with your hands. And he reaches and he pulls the blade back out. And again, as he does, just little flecks of steel seem to almost fall off of it. And he takes it and he like spins it in his hand and he lays it across his forearm.
Oh, very impressive. Yes, very impressive.
It is
Aksha.
a gift from our homeland.
Gearna practically crawls on the table to get a better look.
Do I recognize what type of weapon that is?
You do not recognize the type of weapon it is. However, as you look at it, you notice that in the crack patterns seem to be the like palm frond symbol that is generally associated with Aliana, the Lavion goddess.
Aksha is going to use do an Arcana check. We'll see if he knows what this might be.
Sure.
I shall join in that endeavor.
Sure.
And fail in that endeavor. That is a 10.
And to be fair, it is very unlikely that Kunskap would know because their people probably have very few dealings with the Lavion.
21.
So, well, you can't say for 100% certainty. You remember that there is a sort of enchantment that your master told you about once, that he had crafted when he was younger. He's not obviously the only person to have done this, but it's a relatively rare sort of enchantment. This is probably some kind of echo blade. To create one is an incredibly intense and difficult process that usually happens over the course of more than a year or two, and it is very carefully attuned to its wielder. And there are stories that your master told you of times when people would attempt it and fail, and upon using it would meet horrible, horrible ends.
It is a very impressive weapon. Yes. Your people? From your people?
Yes.
They were mighty crafters then. Yes.
I have never seen its like.
You would be hard pressed to find something similar
Indeed.
here. It is a gift from a goddess I hope to one day be worthy of again.
If this is indeed a weapon of your goddess, then it seems to still be working, which for me gives insight that the goddess has not turned their back upon you.
That
At least
is-
completely.
Perhaps not. Only time will tell, I suppose. And again, every opportunity, his eyes just sort of settle on Brewery again.
Just death stares this entire time.
Been a long time since you've seen another of your kind.
It has been some time. Not many come this far. My master will be with you shortly. And without another word, he exits, leaving the group of you to yourself.
My master has told me of such weapons. Very fascinating indeed. I'm much sorry that you lost, though. But you fought very valiantly, Gearna.
Fought very well. It was unfair. There were two of him and only one of you.
Ah, but I was a giant to me, which made it fair.
Yes.
It was a good, fair fight.
I did not. Toby has never seen anyone grow like that before. Not so quickly. Usually takes years, decades. You, seconds.
It's a skill
Amazing.
I have. It is part of my design, which incorporated several runes that not I, but Lilith found. He seems a decent fellow. Although, I wonder why he stares at Rory so much.
He seems to like everyone but Brory. Or at least tolerate them. And I turn and I look at Brory. But not you.
Yeah. We don't expect to meet more of our kind out here. I'll leave it at that.
As this conversation is going, Kunskap seems to be deep in thought and counting on their fingers as they think.
Nothing's the matter, Kunskap.
Oh, nothing. I was just counting the number of times someone's called me obtuse after I made a good point. I think it's the third time in the past 2 days.
Then perhaps you are not making as good a point as you believe you are.
I think people just like calling me obtuse.
Hmm. Perhaps. Or perhaps when multiple people who have nothing to do with each other or are not involved in the situation say the same thing to you, it might be worth introspecting.
Kunskap thinks on this for a moment and then suddenly shakes their head and goes, "No, that can't be it." Memes of Skinner, please.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Because I didn't hear it.
I said memes of Skinner, please, from Simpsons.
Ah.
It is the children's fault.
Hope to fight him again. I can grow big at least one more time today.
But to do so, we need to accept the offer?
I do not believe so. I believe fighting him again would be a separate issue.
Still, we must hear him out.
Yes. Business first.
After a couple of minutes, Galbraith enters the room and settles into his seat, placing his gloved hand upon the table with a almost heavy thud. What?
What is this?
My hand?
Yes. Why is it so heavy?
Well, I suppose if we're potentially going to be in business together, he begins to pull at the fingertips of the glove. And as he pulls it off, what is revealed underneath is a complex metallic construct with bits of glowing red stone seemingly placed throughout in tiny shards. And as he moves his fingers, you see small pistons shift to and fro as the small red stones shift ever so slightly as well, sort of powering it.
I see. What a beautiful and intricate design.
Thank you. Well, it is not my own. Well, in either way.
Toby finishes his ale that he still has brought with him this entire way and puts the empty mug down on the table, and he's like, "The hand!"
Indeed, yes. That is where the name comes from.
Ah. Toby understands.
Yes. As I said, my outlook on the world changed rather drastically, and this is part of that. And he proceeds to pull the glove back on. I would, of course, expect that this stays here.
No reason to spread this information to anyone else.
The last thing I need is some stupid fool trying to stake his claim by stealing my hand. That would be rather unfortunate for them.
It would be very confusing to have two people named the Hand in the same city.
Oh,
Your hand is safe with us.
good. I'm very glad to hear that. Now, we have something else to discuss. As promised, I will offer more information about what it is that I'm hoping you will procure for me. And then I will offer you a reasonable sum. And with any luck, we will be able to come to an arrangement on this. In Southreach, as I'm sure you've begun to notice, the city's divided fairly starkly into districts that provide different comforts to different people. Yes?
We have heard of such, yes.
Well, what I am requesting is that you procure me an item from a relatively, what's the word to use here? Selfish individual in Ambergate. This particular item is one that could do quite a lot of good here, but will serve no one sitting in their vault. And if you decide to avail yourself to others of their riches, well, who am I to judge? But I need one thing. And I will confirm for you that, barring your desire to cause harm or pain, suffering, or loss of life, there's no need for any of those things to happen. And if you do it well, there's no need for you to get caught. I will also tell you that this particular individual is not the best of people, although, of course, the discussion of morality and what that means changes from person to person, but I can assure you that they care not for any of the people in this establishment or the walls at all. In fact, it's a big part of why I'm here. And why I take care of this place. Not my establishment, mind you, but this place, the wall.
So, this item you want us to acquire, it will be used to help the people?
Indeed.
Insight
That
for that.
requires an insight
Yeah,
from
sure.
so many people.
So who are the, hang on, before anyone rolls, who are the two people rolling insight on this? Okay, go for it.
That is an 18.
That is a 10.
So with an 18, he seems like he's being forthcoming. He is definitely not telling you everything. He is obscuring quite a bit, but nothing strikes you as being overtly false.
What is this item?
Hmm. The item itself is less important to recognize than what you will find it in. The box that it is kept in is quite distinct. And were you to be able to procure said box and bring it back without opening it, preferably, for incredibly complex reasons, I would be ever so grateful.
Is there a timetable on this?
Well, as I don't currently know if the intent is to keep or to sell this object, I would very much prefer that it be done in the next few days. Beyond that, no. But the sooner the better, and the sooner you do, the sooner I can give you what I have to offer to help your cause.
Hmm.
And of course, in the meantime, and afterwards, if you are successful, you are welcome in my establishment anytime. Though you will still have to pay for drinks, this time notwithstanding.
Hmm.
Can we discuss
And
this amongst ourselves for a moment?
Certainly. I will be just outside, and when you are ready for me, just knock. And he slowly rises and exits the room.
I sense no maliciousness in his desires for this object, and he seemed to be at least forthcoming in the idea that it would help people. Now, the question belies is that what people and how? If this is indeed an object that belongs in the hands of somebody that would use it more for the benefit of others rather than a quick payout, that is not against my personal ethics to take it. However, I do believe that there might be some amongst you who disagree.
I will make it clear that I am not a petty thief. However, I do know several stories about those who steal from the rich in order to help the poor, and there is some nobility to that.
Toby is conflicted about theft for information, but if this information will eventually help Toby succeed in his mission, there is no length to which I would not go.
I'm not particularly for helping them in this situation. I would prefer to seek our other leads, but I will go with what you all decide.
Aksha is definitely conflicted. I spoke to him earlier during our battle, and he seems very knowledgeable about things in the city and could be a very large asset for us for information. However, breaking in or entering, I assume this is what we would be doing, could jeopardize what Aksha is trying to accomplish here. So doing well and doing good for others, but also reaching my goals, I'm not sure. What do you think, Gearna? Do you think I should? Do you think this would be okay? And if it hampers, what will Aksha do?
say is that this underground organization would be a great asset. I know Lilith would occasionally have connections that she used to find things. But perhaps this individual could guarantee you access to the city through the underground means if things were to go awry.
This is possible. I don't exactly trust Mr. Silverstone, but
I do not mean him. He is the law, and he will
Mm.
certainly maintain the law. But the hands, on the other hand, might be able to secure your way in and out of the city without alerting the local authorities.
okay. Then Aksha will follow Gearna's lead. Yes.
To Gearna's point, there is a species of orange-breasted birds who speak of a cloaked member of the species who went about taking acorns from the rich squirrels and giving it to the less fortunate amongst them. So it is a known legend in our people. I'm glad you like that story, Toby.
Toby would like to hear the full story one day.
Perhaps around a fire or something when we are resting for the night.
So the two that I worry about in this decision are Aksha and Brory. Brory, I do not wish to have you look down amongst us as we explore this opportunity, and I do not wish you to lose faith in us, nor, if we are caught, lose any position you have within the guild. Might I suggest those who are a little more willing to take the mantle on this, and you will not be involved.
Perhaps split into two groups.
Perhaps Aksha and Brory would be more apt to go to the shelter. I do not like the idea of separating ourselves, but at the same time, there are some of us who would lose more by being involved than others. I can move on. I do not need to be in this city. The Gearna has no ties here any more than I do, as far as I am aware. But Brory and Aksha, and perhaps even Toby, have more to lose in that aspect. I would rather you came, don't get me wrong, but I do not want you to feel forced. And you do have a deciding vote. Any one of you can just say no and we will not go along with this plan.
Toby will go where the information lies. If the group decides another way, Toby is okay with that. But Toby will move on if the group decides that it must go somewhere where Toby needs to go somewhere else to get his information.
So, I say we call a vote now. If anyone says no, we move on. If we all agree, then we take this chance. I am a yes.
I'm also a yes.
Toby is a yes.
Aksha will go. Yes.
Reluctantly, yes.
Scott may not be the face, but they are the leader. Ha! Scott gets up, goes to the door, and knocks upon it, and goes and sits back down.
After a moment, Galbraith enters, but this time instead of taking a seat, he stands by the door, resting both hands atop the tip of his cane, and he looks at the group of you and goes, "So we have a decision then."
The decision is yes.
Good. Then I suggest you get some rest, and tomorrow, why don't you come back and we can discuss particulars?
Assumes it would be in the evening once more.
One more time, I didn't hear.
I assumes that would be in the evening once more.
Yes, I would prefer that. Harder for you to be followed by any of the more curious gauntlet. Valda is quite a curious kind.
I would label him more ungrateful, but
Perhaps. If nothing else, he is indeed devoted to the ideals, if not the action. Which reminds me, I've meant to ask. For the sake of simplicity, do you all have a name?
we have
I'm Toby.
names.
No, I meant for the group of you.
Sadly, no.
Toby calls them
There-
friends.
Was not a group to name until very recently.
Ah. Perhaps something to think about, if for no other reason than to prevent your names from having to be used constantly. Much better they overhear the name of a camaraderie than be able to identify each and every one of you. Yes? Something to think about.
Shall be considered.
For now, you are welcome to enjoy drink or food, but I have no place for you to stay, although, if I understand it correctly, you already have that set up. Do take careful care getting back tonight. I don't think you will be hassled by any sticky fingers or hungry mouths, but there are other things to be afraid of in the dark, or so they say.
Thank you for the warning.
Thank you for your assistance. I look forward to a healthy partnership.
Please.
Now, before I forget, there was one more thing. I did, in fact, also promise you a number. And I do not believe I've given it to you yet. Were you to do this for me, I would ensure that each of you is compensated with 200 gold pieces.
A lot of gold.
Does this seem acceptable to the lot of you?
It's acceptable to me. I do not know about the rest. I do not know about myself, but I do not know about the rest. But for myself, that is fine.
This is acceptable.
I can work with this.
Yes, Aksha. finds this acceptable.
And if I'm not mistaken, you also owed us some information?
Ah, payment upon completion. I can't have you taking this information and disappearing, as it were. That wouldn't be a very good way to do business now, would it?
Seems we have an accord.
Good.
We will speak on the morrow.
Indeed, I look forward to it. And for now, as I said, please enjoy yourself. I will likely retire for the evening. Until then.
Farewell.
Does anybody want to continue to hang out here for a bit, or are you guys heading back to...
I'm ready to head out for the night.
Yeah, Kunskapper Soccer will be doing. They have readings to do still. I'm sure there might be somebody waiting.
Right. But that will have to wait for next episode. Because this is where we will end off for tonight. I think this was a relatively productive one. I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you everyone for joining us for this episode of DTA, and join us next week when we do a live sit down with myself and one of our esteemed players, where we'll talk about the game, D&D in general, answer questions, comments, or concerns. Thanks so much. Have a great night.